In 2007, a gossip website called Gawker Media published one article that outed Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel as gay. Thiel didn't sue. He didn't complain publicly. He didn't write an angry blog post or hold a press conference. Instead, he did something far more calculated, far more patient, and far more devastating. For the next 10 years, Peter Thiel secretly spent over $10 million funding lawsuits against Gawker, hiring private investigators to dig up dirt and methodically destroying the company piece by piece. By August 2016, Gawker Media was bankrupt, shut down forever, and its founder left with nothing. This wasn't just revenge. It was a masterclass in strategic warfare that changed internet media forever. Today, we're uncovering how one of the world's most powerful billionaires executed the most expensive, patient, and successful revenge plot in internet history, and why the precedent it set should terrify us all. This is a story about money, power, privacy, and what happens when someone with unlimited resources decides you're their enemy. If you enjoy uncovering the economic and power stories that shaped our world while most people weren't paying attention, please hit that like button and subscribe to The Sleeping Economist. We're digging into the financial mysteries and revenge plots that changed everything. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss these stories. Chapter 1. The Billionaire and the Blog. To understand how Peter Thiel destroyed Gawker Media, you first need to understand who these players were and why they became mortal enemies. Peter Thiel, by 2007, was already a legend in Silicon Valley. He co-founded PayPal in 1998 and sold it to eBay for $1.5 billion in 2002. His personal take from that sale was around $55 million. But that was just the beginning. Thiel became Facebook's first outside investor in 2004, putting in $500,000 for a 10% stake. By the time Facebook went public in 2012, that investment was worth over $1 billion. Thiel also co-founded Palantir Technologies, a data analytics company that would eventually be valued at over $20 billion. He ran Founders Fund, a venture capital firm managing billions. By any measure, Peter Thiel was one of the most powerful, wealthy, and connected people in Silicon Valley. He was also intensely private. Thiel didn't do celebrity. He didn't seek attention. He operated behind the scenes, moving money and power like chess pieces on a board that most people couldn't even see. On the other side was Gawker Media, founded by Nick Denton in 2002. Gawker was the opposite of Thiel's world. It thrived on exposure, gossip, and pulling back the curtain on the private lives of the rich and powerful. Gawker's business model was simple: publish salacious, controversial, and often invasive stories that generated massive web traffic. More traffic meant more advertising revenue. By the mid-2000s, Gawker was pulling in tens of millions of dollars annually and had become one of the most influential media properties on the internet. Nick Denton believed in radical transparency. He thought that privacy was dead in the internet age and that the public had a right to know everything about powerful people. Gawker's writers saw themselves as truth-tellers, exposing hypocrisy and holding the elite accountable. Their critics saw them as bullies and blackmailers who destroyed lives for clicks. In December 2007, Gawker published an article titled, "Peter Thiel is Totally Gay." People, the article outed Thiel, who had never publicly discussed his sexuality. The writer argued that it was hypocritical for Thiel, a major Republican donor and conservative libertarian, to be gay and stay closeted while supporting politicians who opposed LGBTQ rights. For most people, this would have been a scandal, an embarrassment, maybe a lawsuit. For Peter Thiel, it became a mission. Chapter 2. The Silent Preparation. Here's what made Thiel's response so unusual and so dangerous. He did absolutely nothing publicly. Most people who get attacked by media outlets respond immediately. They issue statements. They hire lawyers. They sue. They make noise. Thiel understood something more sophisticated. Noise creates attention, and attention gives your enemy power. Gawker thrived on controversy. Every lawsuit they faced became another story. More traffic, more ad revenue. So Thiel went silent. But he wasn't doing nothing. He was preparing. In the months and years after that article, Thiel began building what can only be described as an anti-Gawker operation. He hired lawyers, not to sue Gawker himself, but to find other people who had been hurt by Gawker and offer to fund their lawsuits. He hired private investigators to dig into Gawker's business practices, looking for vulnerabilities. He studied Gawker's financial structure, searching for weak points. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a strategic military campaign planned with the precision of a Silicon Valley product launch. The key to Thiel's strategy was staying hidden. If Gawker knew a billionaire was funding lawsuits against them, they could turn it into a story. Tech billionaire tries to silence free press. That narrative would generate sympathy, donations, maybe even legal protections. So Thiel operated through intermediaries, shell companies, and confidential legal agreements. His name never appeared on any court documents. For years, Gawker faced a series of lawsuits from different plaintiffs over different stories. The company and Nick Denton assumed it was just the cost of doing business in aggressive journalism. They had no idea all these cases were connected, funded by the same source, and designed with a single purpose: destroy Gawker completely. By 2012, Thiel had reportedly spent over $2 million funding various legal actions against Gawker. None had succeeded in bringing the company down, but they were wearing Gawker down financially and emotionally. Legal defense is expensive. Even when you win, you lose money. Thiel was patient. He was willing to spend whatever it took and wait as long as necessary. He understood something fundamental about warfare. Attrition works. You don't need to win the first battle, or even the 10th battle. You just need to make sure your enemy runs out of resources before you do. And then, in 2012, Gawker made a catastrophic mistake. Chapter 3: The Hulk Hogan Sex Tape. In October 2012, Gawker published excerpts from a sex tape featuring professional wrestler Hulk Hogan, whose real name is Terry Bollea. The tape showed Hogan having sex with Heather Clem, the wife of his friend Bubba the Love Sponge, a Radio Shock jock. The tape was filmed secretly in 2006 without Hogan's knowledge or consent. Hogan's lawyers immediately demanded Gawker take down the video. Gawker refused. Nick Denton and his team believed they were protected by the First Amendment. They argued the video was newsworthy because Hogan had talked publicly about his sex life before, making it a matter of public interest. A Florida judge ordered Gawker to remove the video. Gawker still refused, calling the order unconstitutional censorship. This wasn't just arrogance, it was Gawker's brand. They positioned themselves as the fearless media outlet that wouldn't bow to legal threats or celebrity demands. What Gawker didn't know was that Peter Thiel's lawyers had already identified Terry Bollea as the perfect plaintiff. A sex tape published without consent was legally different from outing someone's sexuality or publishing embarrassing information. It was a clear invasion of privacy with strong legal precedent. Even better, Hogan was a sympathetic plaintiff, a famous wrestler whose privacy had been violated in the most intimate way possible. In 2013, Terry Bollea sued Gawker for invasion of privacy, seeking $100 million in damages. It looked like just another celebrity lawsuit. Gawker had fought off dozens of these before, but this time was different. This time, Bollea had unlimited legal funding. Thiel's legal team, working through intermediaries, approached Bollea's lawyers and offered to cover all legal costs. No upfront fees, no risk to Bollea, just a commitment to fight Gawker as hard and as long as it took. In exchange, if they won, Thiel's team would take a percentage of the judgment. Bollea agreed, and now Gawker faced something they'd never encountered before. A plaintiff with resources equal to their own, and a financial backer who would never run out of money or patience. Chapter 4. The Trial That Destroyed an Empire. The trial began in March 2016 in St. Petersburg, Florida. It lasted 2 weeks and became a media spectacle. Gawker's defense was straightforward. The sex tape was newsworthy, protected by the First Amendment, and publishing it was within their rights as journalists. They brought in expert witnesses. They cited precedents. They argued that privacy was a relic of the pre-internet age. Balia's legal team, funded by Thiel's millions, took a different approach. They made it personal. They showed the jury the full unedited tape, forcing jurors to watch Terry Balia in his most vulnerable moment. They brought in witnesses who testified about the emotional damage the publication caused. They portrayed Gawker not as journalists, but as bullies who profited from humiliation. Then came the moment that sealed Gawker's fate. During a deposition played in court, Gawker founder Nick Denton was asked where he would draw the line on publishing sex tapes. Would he publish a tape of a 4-year-old? Gawker's then editor A.J. Delario responded, "If they were a celebrity." The courtroom gasped. It didn't matter that Delario later claimed he was being sarcastic or misunderstood. The jury heard a Gawker editor say he'd publish a child sex tape if it generated traffic. The trial was over. On March 18, 2016, the jury awarded Terry Balia $115 million, the full amount he'd requested plus an additional $15 million in punitive damages. It was one of the largest jury awards in media history. Nick Denton went pale. Gawker's insurance would cover some of it, but not enough. The company would have to pay over $100 million. Gawker Media's annual revenue was around $50 million. They didn't have $100 million. They couldn't pay. Within hours, Gawker filed for bankruptcy protection. And that's when Peter Thiel finally revealed himself. Chapter 5. The billionaire reveals himself on May 25, 2016. Forbes published a bombshell article. Peter Thiel had secretly funded Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker. He'd spent approximately $10 million over nearly a decade finding plaintiffs, funding lawsuits, and building the case that finally destroyed Gawker Media. Thiel didn't deny it. In fact, he embraced it. He gave interviews calling Gawker a singularly terrible bully and defending his actions as protecting victims who couldn't protect themselves. The media world erupted. Some called Thiel a hero who had taken down a predatory media outlet. Others called him a dangerous oligarch who had weaponized the legal system to silence free speech. Nick Denton wrote a public essay calling Thiel's actions the Silicon Valley equivalent of Hulk Hogan's leg drop, but it didn't matter. Gawker was finished. In August 2016, Univision purchased Gawker Media's other properties for $135 million, but they didn't buy Gawker.com itself. That site, the flagship that started everything, was shut down permanently. Its archives were eventually sold to a private equity firm and brought back online years later as a zombie version of itself. Nick Denton, once worth an estimated $150 million, declared personal bankruptcy. The man who built an empire on exposure was exposed himself, financially ruined by a billionaire who never forgot and never forgave. Terry Balia eventually settled with Gawker's bankruptcy estate for $31 million. Peter Thiel reportedly recouped his investment and then some from the settlement distribution. But this was never about the money for Thiel. It was about complete destruction, and he achieved it. Chapter 6. The Terrifying Precedent. So what did we learn from Peter Thiel's $10 million, 10-year revenge plot against Gawker Media? First, understand that this story set a precedent that has chilled media to this day. Before Thiel, everyone knew that billionaires could sue media outlets directly. But direct lawsuits are risky. They generate attention, they're hard to win, and they make you look like you're trying to silence free speech. Thiel proved something far more dangerous. A billionaire can secretly fund multiple lawsuits using other plaintiffs as proxies, bankrupt a media company without ever appearing in court and face no legal consequences. It's completely legal. And it works. Since 2016, journalists at every level have become more cautious about investigating or criticizing billionaires. Why? Because they know that one wrong article could trigger a Thiel-style revenge campaign that lasts for years and ends with bankruptcy. The chilling effect is real and measurable. Second, this story reveals how power actually works in America. Peter Thiel didn't win because he was right or wrong about privacy or free speech. He won because he had more money than his enemy. He could afford to spend $10 million over 10 years. Gawker couldn't afford even a single $100 million judgment. That's the lesson. In American courts, in American media, in American power structures, unlimited resources can buy unlimited outcomes. Thiel could have fought Gawker for 50 years if necessary. Most people can't fight for 50 days. Third, this story shows the importance of understanding your opponent's true capabilities and motivations. Gawker thought they were fighting individual lawsuits from annoyed celebrities. They had no idea they were facing a coordinated, funded, strategic campaign from one of the most intelligent and ruthless billionaires in America. By the time they figured it out, it was too late. In business, in law, in conflict of any kind, you must always ask, who is really on the other side of this? What resources do they have? What are they truly capable of? Gawker failed to ask those questions until they were already destroyed. Finally, there's a practical financial lesson here about legal risk. If you're building a business, especially in media, but this applies broadly, you must understand that legal defense costs money even when you win. Gawker won many lawsuits against other plaintiffs before Hogan, but each victory cost him hundreds of thousands in legal fees. Death by 1,000 cuts is still death. Smart businesses maintain insurance, legal reserves, and settlement funds specifically for this risk. They know that being right doesn't matter if you can't afford to prove it in court. So where are the players now? Peter Thiel continues to be one of the most powerful people in Silicon Valley. He backed Donald Trump in 2016, served on Trump's transition team, and continues to invest billions through Founders Fund. His net worth is estimated at over $7 billion today. Nick Denton emerged from bankruptcy in 2021 and now runs a small newsletter. He's no longer wealthy, no longer powerful, and no longer a player in media. Terry Bollea used his settlement money to fund his retirement. He occasionally appears on wrestling shows and reality television. Can Gawker.com? Its archives exist online, purchased by investors who brought back the brand in 2021. But it's a hollow shell. The writers are different. The spirit is gone. The site that once terrified the powerful is now just another clickbait blog. Peter Thiel won completely. This story teaches us that patience, resources, and strategic thinking can accomplish things that direct action never could. It teaches us that power in America belongs to those who can afford to wait and spend. And it teaches us that in the modern age, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one screaming at you publicly. It's the one working silently behind the scenes, funding your destruction piece by piece, while you never even know they're there. It's stories like this, where we uncover the economic events that shaped our world while most people weren't paying attention, fascinate you. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we're just getting started with these financial educational mysteries.